Tells the day you put on the hits, the day Diddy admits that he put the hit out that got Pac killed.
Court documents show that Dwayne P.Diddy Davis accused hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs of paying $1 million for the killing of rap icon Tupac Shakur.
Eminem in his diss track towards Machine Gun Kelly had made reference to P. Diddy allegedly putting a hit out on Tupac. Eminem in the lyrics had said, quote, "But Kells, the day you put out a hit, the day Diddy admits that he put the hit out that got Pac killed," unquote. The song was released the day after the 22nd anniversary of Tupac's death. Keith Davis was arrested for the murder 5 years after the song's release, with there being audio evidence submitted into court of the suspect accusing P. Diddy of issuing $1 million hit to have Tupac murdered. Eminem dissed P. Diddy several times in a diss track with information which had came out later in P. Diddy's lawsuit with his ex-girlfriend Cassie. The diss track was aimed at Machine Gun Kelly, who was signed to P. Diddy's label Bad Boy Records. Reports from lawsuits against P. Diddy in the later months of 2023 and into 2024 have given an insider's view of alleged debauchery taking place within the label, which Eminem had exposed in a diss track 5 years earlier. In this video, we're going to take a look into Eminem exposing P. Diddy in his MGK diss and how information in the diss track had came to light many years later. Eminem had been signed in the downfall of Death Row Records. Death Row Records, which had been founded by Dr. Dre and Suge Knight in 1992, had been widely successful until its demise in 1996. Dr. Dre in early 1996 had given over his rights of Death Row Records to Suge Knight in order to be released from the label. Dr. Dre began his own label called Aftermath in 1996, being in a distribution deal with Interscope Records, who had also been distributing Death Row Records. Death Row's biggest artist at the time, Tupac Shakur, had been murdered in the same year of 1996, after being involved in a drive-by while riding as a passenger with Suge Knight, which had taken place on a Las Vegas strip. Suge Knight had been incarcerated in 1997, and the fall of Death Row Records had begun as the artists began to leave the label, including Snoop Dogg, who had joined No Limit Records with Master P. Eminem had recorded his first EP during this time called the Slim Shady EP, and had attended the 1997 Rap Olympics tournament in Los Angeles. An Interscope Records intern called Dean Getzlinger had asked Eminem for a copy of his EP, which was then given to Interscope Records boss Jimmy Iovine. Jimmy Iovine, being in a distribution partnership with Dr. Dre, had then played the tape for Dr. Dre, which led to Eminem being signed by Dr. Dre in 1998. Dr. Dre then helped produce the Slim Shady LP, and followed up with producing Eminem's album called Marshall Mathers. Suge Knight claims that he contractually owns the rights to this, as he had Dr. Dre sign a lifetime management deal to relinquish his rights to Death Row Records and be extricated from the label. The deal entitled Suge Knight to 30% of Dr. Dre's earnings for a lifetime, although Dr. Dre's lawyers had claimed in 2016 that the deal had never been acted on. Suge Knight claimed, however, that Dr. Dre had been battling him in court to get the contract cancelled. Dr. Dre's album titled 2001, which was released in 1999 and was written in part by Eminem, had been interfered with by Suge Knight, as Dr. Dre wanted to call the album The Chronic 2001, being a sequel of his debut album The Chronic, released under Death Row. Suge Knight did not allow Dr. Dre to use the rights of the name, and had Death Row Records release a project called The Chronic 2000 to rub it in Dr. Dre's face. The album was then instead called 2001, and had many hits featuring Eminem. Eminem became the best-selling rapper of all time, with his total certified units being 345 million. Eminem signed 50 Cent in 2002 to Shady Records, being a company of Aftermath by Dr. Dre and Interscope. Suge Knight would once again contractually have a piece of this deal, if abiding to the lifetime management deal of 1996. Eminem gained several rivals in the music industry and became involved in publicized rap beefs over the course of his career. Insane Clown Posse was one of the first groups to have beefed with Eminem, which had dated back to 1995, with both Eminem and ICP being from Detroit. Eminem falsely claimed ICP would be at one of his launch parties in 1995 for promotion, and ICP didn't like him using their name for publicity, and animosity began between them as a result. Eminem and his rap group D12 had then chased ICP out of a club in 1997 and had shot at their van with paintball guns. This scene was dramatized in Eminem's movie 8 Mile. Eminem also began dissing ICP on his Marshall Mathers album and throughout the Up in Smoke tour in 2000. Suge Knight, 8 days after being released from prison in 2001, had sent Blood gang members to strong-arm Eminem. Eminem Eminem's ex-bodyguard Byron Williams had claimed that while at the 2001 Source Awards, which was held 8 days after Suge Knight was released from prison, a change in seating plans not allowing bodyguards to sit with the artists left Eminem vulnerable to a confrontation, as Suge Knight had sent Blood gang members to intimidate him. Eminem's bodyguard worked with Dr. Dre's bodyguards to rush over and lead Eminem away from the threat. Suge Knight then stopped Eminem and Snoop Dogg from performing in Honolulu. Dr. Dre and Eminem, along with Snoop Dogg, were being contracted by radio station Power 106 in order to do promotional work in Honolulu. When their plane had landed, they were greeted by 20 Honolulu police officers who had told them that the event had been cancelled. Suge Knight had flown out over 50 enforcers to stop the event taking place, and Interscope Records had to pay the expenses of the Honolulu police force, as a larger requirement of staff was needed to prevent Suge Knight's enforcers from approaching Eminem and Dr. Dre. Eminem had released the Eminem Show in 2002 and had gotten into a beef with the Source magazine co-founder Boston rapper Benzino, being due to the response of the magazine's rating of the album. Eminem was offended that the album had received a rating of 4 out of 5 and had begun expressing his displeased feelings with the magazine. Benzino had then released the Eminem diss track Pull Your Skirt Up in 2002, and Eminem replied with Nail in the Coffin. After Eminem signed 50 Cent in 2002, he had taken on 50 Cent's beefs from the streets of New York. 50 Cent had beef on the streets of New York with rap label Murder Inc. Murder Inc., founded by the Lorenzo brothers acting under the stage name of Gotti, had signed New York rapper Ja Rule to Murder Inc. Ja Rule and Murder Inc. boss Irv Gotti were affiliated with Kenneth Supreme McGriff, being of the notorious New York criminal faction, the Supreme Team. 50 Cent's friend in 1999 had robbed Ja Rule, to which 50 Cent then became an enemy of Murder Inc. 50 Cent had been stabbed by Murder Inc. employees in a New York recording studio on March 24, 2000. 50 Cent, exactly 2 months later, had been shot 9 times by Mike Tyson's best friend, Homo. Daryl Homo Bomb had been killed in a targeted shooting 3 weeks after he had shot 50 Cent, with Mike Tyson being seen in a post-fight interview dedicating his win to Homo.
I had to bury my best friend. I dedicated this fight to him.
Homo was believed to have been contracted by Kenneth Supreme McGriff to try and murder 50 Cent. After Eminem had signed 50 Cent, he had then taken on 50 Cent's beef from New York as a result. Eminem had stayed out of the beef until Ja Rule had fired the first shots towards him, being in a track called Loose Change released in 2003, where Ja Rule had dissed Eminem's daughter Hailey. Eminem responded with several tracks such as Hailey's Revenge and a remix of Tupac's Hail Mary, which included a soundbite of Ja Rule in the beginning venting his frustrations of people calling him a Tupac wannabe. 50 Cent had been filming a music video for his 2003 song In the Club, which had featured Eminem and Dr. Dre in the video. Suge Knight had turned up to the set in an attempt to threaten Dr. Dre and his artists. 50 Cent revealed that the production crew had fled, but Eminem refused to be intimidated and had stood up to Suge Knight. Suge Knight had sided with Murder Inc. and grew friendly with Irv Gotti and Ja Rule. Suge Knight allowed Murder Inc. to use Tupac's sample Shed So Many Tears for free, being in their song called The Pledge. Although Shed So Many Tears had been released by Interscope, Irv Gotti revealed that Suge Knight had taken on Tupac's Interscope catalogue when signing him. Irv Gotti and Suge Knight, along with Dame Dash and Jay Prince, were going to begin a new business venture during this time to start an independent distribution company and unionize the music industry. The moguls met and discussed putting forward $30 million each to start a distribution company and union venture within the music industry. The union venture was set to strong-arm the big 4 record labels and their subsidiaries to hold them accountable for paying artists what they were owed, and was to introduce benefits to musicians such as medical and dental. The venture was supposed to allow artists who believed they were being treated unfairly to have a representative with the backing of the 4 moguls to sue the record labels and being given a higher increase in pay based off of record sales and have their record contracts adjusted for more revenue. P.Diddy's former bodyguard Gene Deal had claimed in a 2022 interview with YouTube channel The Art of Dialogue that P.Diddy's people who had gotten information about the venture had gone to the FBI with paperwork to put a stop to the venture. Gene Deal claimed P. Diddy and Kirk Burroughs, being the former president of his label Bad Boy, had paperwork written up to claim that the moguls were starting an extortion venture over the music industry to monopolize it. Gene Deal claimed he had been in a car with Kirk Burroughs before when they had travelled to 26 Federal Plaza to meet the feds. P. Diddy was in a distribution contract with Clive Davis of Arista, which is owned by Sony, so P. Diddy, according to Gene Deal, had been believing that he was protecting those helping him within the music industry by giving paperwork over to the feds about the venture. The feds almost simultaneously raided Suge Knight's LA offices and Murder Inc.'s New York offices, and the DEA had gone after J. Prince. Suge Knight was sent back to prison by the LAPD, and J. Prince was almost assassinated by DEA agents, whereas Irv Gotti was made bankrupt by the FBI, who'd closed down his company. The FBI opened a case on Irv Gotti, claiming his company Murder Inc. was laundering money for Kenneth Supreme McGriff. Irv Gotti believes 50 Cent was feeding the FBI false information to bring down Murder Inc.
As the prosecution presented its case, they seemed obsessed with having the attempted murder of 50 Cent allowed into evidence in the prosecution's attempt to connect Irvin Chris to the shooting.
Irv Gotti was found not guilty, but the FBI had destroyed Murder Inc. as they had placed forth conditions if any financial proceeds from external sources would be considered as co-defendants, therefore drying up Murder Inc.'s money supply, which was being spent on legal fees. Eminem and 50 Cent were seen as winning the beef over Murder Inc., as all while the diss records were being launched and the beef continued, Murder Inc. had been brought down by the feds, bringing a cease to the company. Eminem, who had been suffering with addiction issues, had been portrayed in the media as losing his touch into the late 2000s, as due to the issues he had stopped working from 2005 to 2009. His 2009 album Relapse was met with poor reviews after the 4-year hiatus, but he was claimed as bouncing back with his 2010 album Recovery. Eminem began beefing with Joe Budden in 2015, which remains ongoing in 2024. Eminem's most recent popularized beef has been with Machine Gun Kelly. Machine Gun Kelly is a rapper from Houston, Texas, whose beef with Eminem dates back to 2012. Machine Gun Kelly had tweeted about Eminem's daughter Haley in 2012, saying that she was hot. MGK was 21 years old at the time, while Haley was 16. MGK had gotten banned from some radio stations following the tweet due to it involving a minor. MGK had spoken on it for the first time in 2015 during an interview on Hot 97. Tech Nine released a song featuring Machine Gun Kelly in 2018 called No Reason. MGK had dissed Eminem for the first time in the record. Eminem had released his album Kamikaze in the same year, where he had dissed MGK in the track Not Alike, where he had finally called him out for the comments about his daughter. MGK then replied with the diss track Rap Devil, which is in reference to Eminem's 2013 track Rap God. MGK had made reference to the tweet where he had said, quote, "Why you claiming that I'm a cool puff, when you the one that called Diddy? Then you went and called Jimmy. They conference called me in the morning. They told me you was mad about a tweet. You wanted me to say sorry," unquote. Eminem then made a second diss track called Kill Shot, and in his reply he had dissed P. Diddy throughout the track due to MGK being under Bad Boy, who had released the diss track. The first mention of P. Diddy in the track is when Eminem says, quote, "Got the Diddy okay, so you spent your whole day just to dig your own grave," unquote. This was in reference of P. Diddy giving MGK the okay to make an Eminem diss record, where in the music video for it MGK was digging a grave. P. Diddy has been known in the past as using beef in the music industry as a promotional tool, such as the 1994 Biggie song Who Shot Ya, which had gotten an okay from P. Diddy to be released and promoted as a Tupac diss. Eminem had also made reference to the past beefs in saying, quote, "Kelly, they'll be putting your name next to Ja, next to Benzino. Kel's attempt fails, Budden L's," unquote. Eminem had further taken shots at P. Diddy by saying, quote, "But this idiot's boss pops pills and tells him he's got skills," unquote. P. Diddy was sued by his ex-girlfriend Cassie in November of 2023, and in the lawsuit it alleged that P. Diddy was heavily addicted to using different narcotics, being due to a debauched lifestyle he had been living, including excessive partying. Some of the excessive partying had been taking place in hotel rooms, and P. Diddy's former bodyguard Gene Deal claimed to have been a witness of Ja Rule attending one of P. Diddy's hotel room parties, and had overheard P. Diddy attempting to get Ja Rule to begin beefing with Jay-Z. Video surveillance from one of P. Diddy's hotel occurrences in a violent outburst against his ex Cassie had been released in 2024, with the video coming from 2016, with P. Diddy following up with an apology video in which he admitted he had a problem and was seeking rehab for his issues. Producer Lil Rod filed a lawsuit against P. Diddy in February of 2024, who had been around P. Diddy for a majority of 2022 while working on his album called Love. The lawsuit claimed that P. Diddy's chief of staff was to make sure that Diddy had a constant supply of pills and other narcotics. The lawsuit further revealed more information about P. Diddy's issues and had labeled a man called Brendan Paul as P. Diddy's mule, which the lawsuit had claimed was allegedly responsible for getting P. Diddy the substances for his needs. P. Diddy's properties were subjected to simultaneous raids by Homeland Security in March of 2024, being due to a federal investigation based on the lawsuits against him. P. Diddy and Brendan Paul were stopped at a Miami airport by federal agents, and Brendan Paul was arrested for felony possession. Eminem had exposed P. Diddy's issues in the Kill Shot diss 5 years prior to it becoming public. Eminem went on to diss P. Diddy in a track by saying, quote, "But Kells, the day you put out a hit, the day Diddy admits that he put the hit out that got Pac killed," unquote. P. Diddy's name has been mentioned over 77 times in court documents, being in relation to the murder of Tupac Shakur. Keith Davis, known by his street name of Keefy D, had been arrested in September of 2023 for the murder of Tupac. Keefy D in 2008 had been offered a proffer agreement after being set up in a sting operation by a government task force. A proffer agreement offers immunity to someone when confessing crimes to provide information, with the immunity only applying between the person and the agency proposing the proffer agreement. The government task force which had set up Keefy D had been done in response to what was called the East Coast-West Coast beef of the 1990s. Suge Knight and Tupac, who were representing the West Coast, had been beefing with P. Diddy and Biggie Smalls of the East Coast. This placed two record labels against each other, including their top-earning stars, with Death Row Records having Tupac and Bad Boy having Biggie. The beef initially started between Tupac, Biggie and P. Diddy, being due to circumstances on the East Coast, which had left Tupac shot 5 times and imprisoned. Tupac in 1993 was going through legal trouble after shooting 2 off-duty police officers in Atlanta. Suge Knight helped Tupac pay for his legal fees, as he had given him an album's budget for a single unreleased song, which was going to be used on a soundtrack for Death Row's short film Murder Was the Case. Suge Knight also approached Tupac at that time in trying to get him to sign to Death Row, but Tupac had told Suge Knight he wasn't ready. The Atlanta case was dismissed against Tupac after it had been found that the cops had stolen a gun from evidence which was believed they were going to use on Tupac, being known as a throwaway gun, with Tupac later stating in an interview that he felt as if the police were covertly placed there to murder him. Tupac had then been in Harlem filming for the movie Above the Rim, where Biggie would visit him as the two were friends at the time, and Tupac would let Biggie open for him when performing live. Quoting Tupac in an interview with Sway while removing the explicitives, he had said, quote, "What it is that the East Coast drug dealers got them under extortion. I came in and effed up everything, cause I dissed them in the Daily News," unquote. Tupac was exposing a rumor in the 90s that P. Diddy's label Bad Boy was being extorted by gangsters of New York. When researching this, numerous results come back as to who may have been extorting Bad Boy, but Tupac, in his own words, being in an interview with Monster Cody, had claimed it was a New York gang called the A-Team. Brian Glaze Gibbs, who was from the territory of the A-Team and had a hit out put on him by the gang, had claimed that Tupac had misidentified the original A-Team gang. The A-Team gang was formed by an offshoot of the Nation of Islam, being a 5%er by the name of Mr. Damu, with the name standing for the Allah Team. The gang formed in 1984 in the Cypress Hills housing projects in New York to fight against Jamaican drug lords taking over the territory. Haitian Jack, who was a notorious stick-up kid, was under the belief that a man called Little Rick Martin was the founder and ringleader of the A-Team. Brian Glaze Gibbs claimed Little Rick Martin was incarcerated when the original A-Team was formed by Mr. Damu, and therefore Rick Martin wasn't the founder. The New York Daily News done a piece on the A-Team gang in 2017, with it revealing the Cypress Hills territory had been divided between gangs, with the A-Team gang controlling the Sutter Avenue side. The A-Team gang in the 1980s were allied with Dominican gangs between Sutter Avenue and Belmont Avenue, which had controlled drug houses in the area. Walter King Tut Johnson was from the Cypress Hills projects, and was associated to Haitian Jack and Little Rick Martin. Their names became synonymous with the A-Team gang, but Brian Glaze Gibbs claims that Tupac was misinformed into believing that they were members of the gang. King Tut was found not guilty of shooting a plainclothes cop in 1993, and reports claim that after this he'd began a relationship with P. Diddy to try and get involved in the entertainment industry. King Tut had carried out an interview with King magazine in 2006, where he had spoke on his relationship with P. Diddy and how the FBI had tried to pressure him into giving over criminal information regarding P. Diddy. P. Diddy was fired from Uptown Records in 1993, where he then began the Bad Boy label, having a distribution deal with Arista through Clive Davis. King Tut in his interview with King magazine had claimed that during this time he had said to P. Diddy, quote, "I explained to Puffy, I could be beneficial to you. I have income coming in." Puff was like, "Yo, I heard some really bad things about you," unquote. King Tut had claimed Puffy agreed to work with him and had advised him to read the book All You Need to Know About the Music Business. King Tut was associated to New York gangster and record executive Jimmy Henchman, with P. Diddy beginning the startup of Bad Boy Entertainment, launching a marketing campaign for artists Biggie and Craig Mack. YouTube channels such as Al Prophet and celebrity gossip columnist Lipstick Alley look into rumors of where the funding may have came from to launch the upstart of the label. Celebrity gossip website Lipstick Alley have submissions referring that more than one internal US Department of Justice memos, which quote FBI and DEA informants, allege a connection between P. Diddy and BMF made through Jimmy Henchman, which may have provided the funding for the label. BMF, known as the Black Mafia family, were a $500 million drug corporation run by the Flannery brothers from Detroit. Reports become skewed here as Haitian Jack has been reported to have been a member of a robbery gang called the Black Mafia, and it is unsure if this was related to BMF or if it was its own entity. BMF's third in command, who controlled the New York territory for the organization, was a man called Fleming Daniels, who was associated to Walter King Tut Johnson. The unverified reports claim Jimmy Henchman and his connection into the A-Team associates through King Tut had been rumored to have used a connection between King Tut and BMF member Fleming Daniels to get a loan from BMF to Jimmy Henchman. As reports remain sketchy, it's unsure if the loan was from BMF or the Black Mafia robbery ring Haitian Jack was a part of, but the DEA informant memos listed on the Lipstick Alley website lists it as being with BMF. The unverified reports claim Jimmy Henchman then allegedly provided the financing to P. Diddy, with it coming from BMF, with P. Diddy then being under extortion by Henchman and associates in order to pay back the debt. P. Diddy's connection into BMF goes deeper than this, as P. Diddy's cousin Daryl Popper Taylor and his former head of security Paul Buford were later involved in the federal indictment against BMF. DEA documents from the indictment allege that P. Diddy was possibly being extorted by BMF, with P. Diddy hosting their label launch party in his restaurant Justin's Eatery in Atlanta, where he was pictured with BMF ringleader Big Meech. Big Meech, in a jail interview conducted for Vlad TV, claimed to his knowledge he never personally provided P. Diddy with any money and was simply partying with him. P. Diddy's former bodyguard Gene Dill claimed that people have it mistaken that P. Diddy was being extorted by BMF, and he may have been being extorted by people associated to his bodyguard Anthony Wolf Jones. Big Meech was in a shootout with Anthony Wolf Jones, with Wolf being murdered by BMF in self-defense. Gene Dill claimed in an interview with YouTube channel The Art of Dialogue that P. Diddy had okayed Wolf's murder by BMF due to $300,000 which P. Diddy owed Wolf. Keefe D in his book Compton Street Legend had claimed that BMF was with him in a van while looking for Tupac and Suge Knight in Las Vegas to carry out the hit. With Wolf being murdered in Atlanta, Atlanta prosecutors had claimed that P. Diddy had told Big Meech to do what he had to do, as Wolf had told P. Diddy he was going to show him that BMF weren't all that. Rapper Rick Ross, in his feature verse on P. Diddy's 2010 song called Angels, gave a shout out to the A-Team gang in reference to the jewelry which they used to flash, but it could also be a double meaning for B.A. Baracus in the A-Team TV show, but Rick Ross refers to it as plural. It questions why Rick Ross would give a shout out to the gang on a P. Diddy song, with there being rumoured association between P. Diddy and the gang. When researching Tupac's claims of P. Diddy being extorted by New York drug dealers, the names that come back are Haitian Jack, King Tut, Jimmy Henchman, the A-Team gang, and BMF. Kirk Burroughs, the former president of Bad Boy, had sued P. Diddy in 2003 for $25 million. In the 37-page legal document, Burroughs alleged that P. Diddy had set up a group which he had dubbed as the Enterprise, which the documents claim allegedly took part in murder and extortion. Tupac in 1993, while on the set for Above the Rim, had been approached by Haitian Jack to try and get him to sign to Bad Boy. It questions why Haitian Jack would be attempting to get Tupac to sign to the label, being unless he had a cut in it alluding to the extortion rumors. Tupac revealed Biggie had warned him about Haitian Jack and had told him that P. Diddy was cheating him out of his money. Tupac had turned down the offer from Haitian Jack and began hanging out with him in nightclubs. Tupac believes he was then set up in an extortion attempt in November of 1993 in a case involving Haitian Jack and a girl within a hotel room, which had Tupac criminally charged with a 4-year sentence hanging over his head. Tupac, a year later, while being interviewed by the news outside a courthouse, had spoke on allegations of Haitian Jack being a snitch. Jimmy Henchman, P. Diddy and Haitian Jack have all been rumoured as working with the feds. Court documents from Jimmy Henchman's lawyer revealed that Henchman had worked with agents in New York in the 90s to assist with solving historical crimes. Tupac's cousin William Lassane, who was locked up with Haitian Jack in Rikers Island in 1983, had claimed during an interview on Cytonia Live that when Haitian Jack had sued Tupac's estate, he had seen paperwork on Haitian Jack which confirmed him to be an informant. Tupac's trial was severed from Haitian Jack's, with Tupac's lawyer Michael Warren finding out that Haitian Jack had a mile-long rap sheet of crimes which were all dismissed. And author John Potash had spoken to Michael Warren about this, who claimed he said it was indicative of a police intelligence agent. The day after Tupac's allegations against Haitian Jack had aired on the news, Tupac had been invited to Quad Recording Studio by Jimmy Henchman, who had told him to be a feature for his artist Lil Sean and collect $7,000. Tupac had arrived at the studio where he was shot 5 times in an attempted robbery, as Jimmy Henchman had paid King Tut and Dexter Isaac to shoot him. Jimmy Henchman had been in the studio upstairs with P. Diddy and Biggie, with Gene Deal claiming in an Art of Dialogue interview that P. Diddy knew Tupac was going to be dealt with. Reports claim Jimmy Henchman had allegedly invited a majority of the staff of P. Diddy's former label of Uptown to the studio in order to make an example out of Tupac. Tupac later claimed in an interview with Monster Cody that it was the A-Team gang who had robbed him, with him further hinting in an interview with Sway that they were the people extorting P. Diddy. In Tupac's Against All Odds track, he had said, quote, "Puffy get him robbed like a bitch. To hide that fact, he did some shit he shouldn't have did, so we riding for that," unquote. Haitian Jack had claimed in an interview with the 2017 TV documentary Who Shot Biggie and Tupac by Fox that his associates had shot Tupac due to the comments he had made about him on the news. Tupac, the following day after being shot, was found guilty in the case with Haitian Jack and had been sentenced to 4 years in prison. P. Diddy had then okayed Biggie to release a song called Who Shot Ya, which was promoted as a Tupac diss. Suge Knight had been visiting Tupac in prison, where Tupac had told him about the situation with P. Diddy and Biggie, and Suge Knight as a result had taken on the beef in backing Tupac. Suge Knight had launched himself headfirst into the beef on August 3rd of 1995, being at the Source Awards in Madison Square Garden. Death Row Records and Bad Boy were both showcasing the event, having their roster perform their greatest hits. Dr. Dre, who was still with Death Row at the time, had designed a set for their stage which included a row of cells which the Death Row artists would make their entrances from when performing. One of the cells had a cardboard cutout of Tupac inside it, as Suge Knight had already known that Tupac was coming to Death Row. Suge Knight, while he was accepting an award, had hinted that Biggie should leave Bad Boy and join Death Row Records, and had called out P. Diddy for dancing in Biggie's videos and being on his records. Suge Knight had already muscled up on P. Diddy's former label of Uptown in order to correct the contracts of Mary J. Blige and Jodeci, in order to make sure they were being treated fairly by Uptown. Suge Knight had later started planning Death Row East, which was going to be managed by Eric B., and he had later signed P. Diddy's former artist Craig Mack. Suge Knight revealed in his 2017 prison interview in the Fox documentary Who Shot Biggie and Tupac that he had also planned to sign Biggie away from Bad Boy. If Bad Boy was being extorted by New York gangsters, then it would mean that Suge Knight would have been interfering with their money-making. Keefe D had told authorities in his proffer agreement that P. Diddy had used his set of the Southside Compton Crips to provide enforcement for the very first time, being 10 days after the Source Awards, while Bad Boy performed at the KKBT 92.3 Summer Jam at the Irvine Meadows Amphitheater. Keefe D had claimed to have been introduced to P. Diddy through New York hustler Eric Zip Martin, who Keefe D had claimed was associated to the Santana Block Compton Crips. Keefe D claimed P. Diddy had set it up with Zip to provide the Southside Compton Crips with 30 tickets to the show to secure it from Suge Knight's Bloods. Suge Knight was associated with the Compton MOB Pyrus. Suge Knight and P. Diddy had a run-in with each other a month after the Source Awards, which had taken place in a nightclub in Atlanta called the Platinum House, which was hosting Jermaine Dupri's birthday party. Police reports from an off-duty Atlanta deputy by the name of C.J. Howard had identified Southside Compton Crip Orlando Anderson being in a powder blue jacket, along with Southside Compton Crip Corey Edwards, as being with P. Diddy at the party. Suge Knight was at the party with a Compton Campanella Park Pyru called Jake Robles, who had been murdered in a shooting at the party after getting into a confrontation with P. Diddy's bodyguard Anthony Wolf Jones and a New Yorker called Jason Brown. Kirkborough's 2003 legal documents against P. Diddy had claimed that P. Diddy, with the approval and ratification of the so-called Enterprise, had approved the 1995 murder of Jake Robles. The Atlanta cop who was investigating Anthony Wolf Jones for the Jake Robles murder had then been killed in a mysterious car accident, which P. Diddy had fell under investigation for. Anthony Wolf Jones was the person who had rehired Gene Dill to work for Bad Boy, being a week after the Jake Robles murder. Tupac was bailed out of prison a month after the Jake Robles murder, which was done under an appeal by Suge Knight's lawyer to have him join Death Row Records. Tupac had made a plan in prison which he had told his ex, Desiree Smith, which was to get with Biggie's wife Faith Evans. So once he was out of prison, he had flown out Faith Evans to Los Angeles, being under the context of having her record vocals for a song on his album All Eyes on Me. Multiple witnesses around Death Row had claimed that Tupac had taken Faith Evans back to his hotel room. Suge Knight claimed to have gotten with P. Diddy's baby mother, Misa Halton, with a behind-the-scenes video showing Suge Knight and Tupac laughing about the situation.
You told me to fuck me, bitch. I did it for you!
Suge Knight had starred in an unreleased magazine cover with Misa and P. Diddy's son, with the headline reading, "What the East Coast won't take care of, the West Coast will." P. Diddy had been shown the magazine and used as people within the music industry to make sure it wasn't released to the public. P. Diddy also didn't clear Faith Evans' vocals to be used on All Eyes on Me, which resulted in Death Row artist Michel'le overdubbing the vocals to disguise them. Biggie and P. Diddy performed in Anaheim in November of 1995. And Keefe D had claimed P. Diddy had once again given the Southside Compton Crips tickets to provide protection at the show. Keefe D in his proffer agreement had claimed that P. Diddy had taken the Crips back to a hotel room party following the show, where he had allegedly, in a room full of Crips, announced that he would do anything for those dudes' heads, being Tupac and Suge Knight. Death Row artists Snoop Dogg and the Dogg Pound were recording a music video in New York in December of '95. Biggie had gone on Hot 97 while they were there, and had gave away their location in Red Hook, Brooklyn, which had then led to Death Row's trailer being shot up. Biggie had believed that Tupac was there, and had ordered Brooklyn to get at him on the radio. Artist Trey D, who had been in the trailer, claimed it was like sniper shots coming through the walls from a building about a mile away. Suge Knight a few days after this was hosting a Christmas party in the Hollywood Hills. Mark Anthony Bell, a producer associated to P. Diddy, had been recognized at the party, and he was locked in a room by Tupac and Suge Knight, who had beaten him with champagne bottles in an attempt to get the addresses of P. Diddy's family in Los Angeles. Mark Anthony Bell had fled to Jamaica and had sued Suge Knight, where they had reached a settlement of a few $100,000. The 1996 Soul Train Music Awards had taken place in March, being within the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles. Both Death Row Records and Bad Boy were attending the event. Keefe D had been hired by the venue to provide security for the event. Suge Knight, in knowing that Bad Boy were going to be there, had put together a plan for the MOB Pyrus to pull Biggie off of the stage and rush him. Suge Knight had upward of 30 Pyrus dressed in matching burgundy Parliament Funk P-Funk shirts, with the shirts representing Pyru, which Suge Knight was also wearing. Suge Knight had called a meeting and had told the Pyrus that when Biggie is on the stage to rush it and pull him off. Death Row Records head of security was a former Compton cop called Reggie Wright Jr., who had gotten wind of the plot and alerted Keefe D of what the Pyrus had planned for Biggie. P.Diddy then limited the Pyrus at the entrance, successfully stopping the plot. Gene Deal revealed while walking through a corridor at the venue with P. Diddy, they had seen Tupac and Suge Knight approach him, to which P. Diddy had ran outside where the production trucks were parked. Tupac and Biggie had then gotten into an argument outside, and Biggie's friend C. Gutter had pulled a gun on Death Row, but the Fruits of Islam security service had stepped in and broke it up. Gene Deal claimed when returning back to where they were staying, P. Diddy had uttered a self-fulfilling prophecy in saying he didn't care if Tupac and Biggie had to die, or if Suge Knight had to go to jail, but he was sick of living his life like that. Tupac had put out the Biggie and P. Diddy diss track Hit 'Em Up in June of 1996, where he had featured impersonators in the video and had made it public with the claims that he had gotten with Biggie's wife. Police reports show that a rumor was circulating on the streets of Compton, which claimed P. Diddy was offering a $5,000 bounty for Death Row chains. P.Diddy's nephew Orlando Anderson in July of 1996 attempted to steal the Death Row chain off of Suge Knight affiliate Compton Mob Pyru Trayvon Lane, being within a Foot Locker store in the Lakewood Mall. A specific beef had now begun between the Southside Compton Crips affiliated with P. Diddy and the MOB Compton Pyrus affiliated with Suge Knight. P.Diddy in his proffer agreements, which were secretly recorded by the government task force, had alleged that P. Diddy had scheduled a meeting with him at the Greenblatt's Deli in Los Angeles, being in the summer of 1996. P.Diddy alleged in the audio that while at the restaurant, P. Diddy had solicited the Crips to kill Tupac and Suge Knight, being for $1 million. Suge Knight and Tupac, along with the Compton MOB Pyrus, had gone to the MGM Grand in Las Vegas in September of 1996 to watch Mike Tyson vs. Bruce Seldon. The Southside Compton Crips were also in Vegas to watch the fight, and Trayvon Lane had spotted Orlando Anderson in the lobby and had informed them that it was the Crip who messes with P. Diddy who had tried to steal his chain. This led to Tupac and Suge Knight along with the MOB Pyrus to jump Orlando Anderson. P.Diddy claimed in his proffer agreement that the Southside Compton Crips had carried out a drive-by on Tupac and Suge Knight following this, with the intention of claiming the $1 million bounty from P. Diddy. Tupac ended up dying almost a week after being in the ICU as a result of the shooting. P.Diddy in a proffer agreement claimed that he had met up with New York associate Zip in a hot wings restaurant on Melrose in Los Angeles following the shooting. P.Diddy claimed P. Diddy had called Zip and asked was that us, and Zip confirmed it was. P.Diddy claimed he was then told that Zip would be giving them the money. P.Diddy in new court documents has now claimed that P. Diddy had allegedly additionally scheduled a call with the alleged driver in the drive-by Terrence Brown to give him more information about the payment. P. Diddy's former bodyguard Gene Deal claimed in his Vlad TV interview that he saw what he believed was the $1 million check which Jimmy Henchman had given to Zip. Gene Deal has now confirmed that he has been asked to stop mentioning Jimmy Henchman's name due to Jimmy Henchman's murder case which he is serving for the death of 50 Cent affiliate Lodi Mack. Gene Deal claimed Jimmy Henchman had given Zip a check for $1 million which was written to Blackground Records owned by Aaliyah's uncle Barry Hankerson. The information would allude that P. Diddy was used by Jimmy Henchman to set up a secondary hit on Tupac, being following the 1994 failed attempt, this time using the Southside Compton Crips to carry out the hit. P.Diddy claimed while he was imprisoned for an unrelated matter in 1998, the FBI had interrogated him and told him that they had tracked the check and found out that Zip had used it to buy a nightclub called the Zip Code. The nightclub was located on 2207 Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard, which is now a vacant church. Following the murder of Tupac, P. Diddy had some questionable lyrics in regards to the $1 million hit, which fans believe were aimed at Tupac. In P. Diddy's 1997 song Can't Hold Me Down, he says, quote, "We make hits that will rearrange your whole set," unquote. This could be in reference to the Tupac hit, as Suge Knight had gone to prison for the assault of Orlando Anderson, along with Tupac dying. P. Diddy in the song Muscle Game by bad boy artist Black Rob had said, quote, "F with me or drop $1 million on your head, erase you and your whole family," unquote. This was believed to have been in reference to the Tupac hit being the $1 million bounty to the Southside Compton Crips, as Tupac had left behind no children. This is what led Eminem to making statements in his MGK diss about P. Diddy putting the hit out on Tupac before it had been mentioned in court documents 6 years later. P. Diddy went to Joe Budden, who Eminem was beefing with, in order to respond to the diss.
"Nothing to speculate about, nothing to talk about. Puff said it's in his hands, and he said I can say it."
All right.
And that's the end of that.
Have fun with that one.
He said, you know, there's nothing to say about it. It's in my hands. He wild. Period.
In this video, we took a look into the story behind Eminem's claims about P. Diddy being in his 2018 MGK diss Kill Shot. Eminem had made several claims about P. Diddy in the track, such as his issues with substances, along with the rumor that he'd put a hit out on Tupac. The claims made in the track later came out publicly 5 years later, being in different legal cases involving P. Diddy. P.Diddy was arrested in September of 2023 for the murder of Tupac due to him going public with his claims outside of the proffer agreement. Court documents released in July of 2024 claim P.Diddy had made more allegations against P. Diddy confirming the hit. Within the 180 plus pages of documents, P. Diddy's name has been mentioned over 77 times in relation to the murder of Tupac. Although the evidence in the case mentions P. Diddy with him being listed 77 times in the documents, the prosecutors do not consider him as a suspect. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, smash the thumbs up button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and press that bell button so you can get all the future notifications for when I upload. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.